Dave Cancel is a friend, the CEO of Drift currently, and has also been the founder and CEO of how many? 5 companies, including Performable, Ghostery. What was you were CPO of HubSpot? I mean, it's kind of like he's got the Midas touch. Everywhere he goes, good things happen. And it's almost too good to be true. So instead of having Dave come up here and tell more of his mythology, I thought I'd act as his therapist, put him on the couch, and ask him the really tough questions. So welcome, Dave Cancel.
Can I lie down on the couch?
You can do whatever you want.
All right. Richard said I had to lie down on the couch.
With your favorite mascot.
I know,
right?
this is my favorite person in the world.
So Dave, tell us about your childhood.
Yeah. My childhood. It started, I was a sharecropper in Queens, New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not an exaggeration to say that everything you touch has turned to gold.
Yeah,
But
I think it is.
But along the way, there's been some pretty nasty experiences, some hard-earned lessons, should we say. And one of the things I want to start with is you guys are embarking on a brand new business. The business is now 3 years old?
Yeah, 3.5 years old.
3.5 years old? How many of you are Drift customers? You're allowed to say that if you want. And you recently tweeted that being a founder and an operational leader of a company are completely different things.
Yeah,
Why?
Totally different.
Why? Are they different?
Yeah.
Well, because the media tells us that everybody's
Just a straight line.
Everybody's Jeff Bezos. They're just going to start a company and be a billionaire next week.
Yeah, I think that's what we've told people. I'd say, I talk to a lot of people now who come into Drift, and a lot of them kind of lust for the early days, and they say like, "Oh, too bad I didn't join when we were like 10 people or less." And Amanda Yee's been there since the beginning, and I'm like, "Why? That sucked. That was like the worst time. It's so bad. Like the fun is just starting now. We're like 160 people or something like that." And the fun is just beginning and scaling and really understanding what we're doing. And the beginning is just pain and suffering.
So are you're not an early stage guy?
I'm a total early stage guy, so I'm a glutton for pain and suffering. Yeah, just like you.
Yeah. We're just stitching people outside.
Yeah.
So you like the pain.
Yeah.
This is why we put him on the couch.
Yeah. I like the pain.
Well, how do you justify that? I mean, having been there myself, it's not nice.
It's not nice. I'd say, I always say that if you start a company the first time, it's excusable because you didn't know what you were doing. Second time, you're questionable, right? Mm-hmm. And then more than 2 times, then you're certifiable, right? There's something wrong, right? And this is my 5th, so. That's
The young startups that are sitting in the crowd thinking, wow, we're going to be different. Mm-hmm. Why are they not going to be different?
It's never going to be different. It's never has been different. I think we taught everyone, so I'll go back and say a long time ago when I first started my first company, or even before that, like there was no, being an entrepreneur was not some desired state, right? It was not I always thought entrepreneur was like a 4-letter word, right? I didn't even know the word entrepreneur by the time I started first business, really. And then we popularized it probably in the last 10, 15 years. But it wasn't a popular thing. It kind of meant that you were, infomercial guy or sold some sleazy product or something like that. Yeah. There was not this cult of being an entrepreneur. And then now we've taught everyone, if you're smart enough, if you're smart and you have a good idea, go start a company, right? And I was listening to something by this guy named Bill Campbell, who's really famous. He's Jeff Bezos' coach. He's passed away now, but they called him the coach. Mm-hmm. And he coached Larry and Sergey, Jeff Bezos, like the founder of Intuit, like endless number of people. And he was actually brought up this thing, and he said he thought that was an error, right? That really what you want to go in is most people don't have this burning idea, go in, join a team that you can learn from, find a mentor, find a coach, find someone who's going to teach you, and then learn your craft doing that. And then, if you do have some idea someday, then do it, but most people won't. And but we've taught everyone to go off and
Like
learn
an
to do these
apprenticeship?
ideas. Yeah, do an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I wish that concept was around when I was coming up, like apprenticeship.
So if you don't have that kind of apprenticeship, which seems pretty rare, I know we have an apprenticeship, but it's been
Hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And apprenticeships mean you've got to give of your time as well. It's not just like, oh, we're going to train you.
Yeah.
You actually have to involve them in the work that's being done every day.
Yeah, but that's like a hard thing it's like an easy thing for people to, I don't want to sound like the curmudgeon, but like it's an easy thing for people to say like that they want to learn and they like came fresh out of school and they want to learn and I want to apprentice and I want to mentor. And it's another thing to put in the years of work, even the days of work, the years of work to actually get that done. And I was listening to something by another person I follow, and they were talking about they gave a chance to some intern who wanted this, who really battled for this idea. And then he was like, it was the first day he was looking for the intern, and he was like, the intern was the last to come in and the first to leave. Right? And that said it all, right? Like, if you really wanted this thing, like, you already spoke miles about what you're doing. So, like, people want this hard thing, but only if it's convenient to them, and life's not convenient.
It's like Tom Waite says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that. And
Yeah.
so, I'm always, I care about, like, every little detail.
You're a little OCD, right?
Yeah, I'm super OCD.
Yeah. Do we have some medication? And Heath, I think we got a box of something.
I'm super OCD, but I care about like every little detail, like if this is a mess or this doesn't work or this little thing. And the reason is because of what you said, because I think you can't really turn on and off caring about the details. And like if you tolerate that stuff, those people that don't care about those details, it's hard for them to care about the details when it does matter or when they're under stress. And so it's kind of a tell.
So let me ask you this, because you are immune, or none of us are immune to the fact that bad things will happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? As we've heard today, shit happens, it's unavoidable. Does caring somehow absolve that, or does it make it harder?
It makes it harder, I think.
Does it make it harder?
Yeah, I think when you care a lot about the details, it makes it harder because you notice how rare it is for all the details to come together. Like in an event like this, which is amazing, this space is awesome, jealous. And for all these details to come off, if you kind of ever run an event, you notice how hard it is to do that. And so most of the time you're kind of setting yourself up to not be happy with the result, right? Because it is so rare. But that time when you actually pull it off, it's kind of magical for that time.
Yeah. So how do you then balance that out? Because it's unsustainable if you're taking everything seriously all the time.
Yeah, I've gone to an extreme where, at Drift we say like that all of our ideas are wrong. So that's our kind of one of our, I don't know what you call it, but our operating principles. Like we kind of train ourselves to say like every idea, everything we design, we build, we write is wrong, and then our job is to kind of give that idea oxygen, to put it out in the market as quickly as possible to figure out how wrong we are, right? Are we just a little bit off, 10, 20% off, which is normal? Or are we 100% off where it's completely not going to go anywhere? That's like an easy thing for me to say right here, but it's painful every day, right? Because you have to feel that pain.
You're shipping stuff that you're not happy with.
We're shipping stuff that we still have questions about.
Yeah.
Right, and because for us the ultimate decider is the market and our customers, right? They're the ones who are going to know, not us. And so that's a test that we use, but it's painful to actually do it because you have to kind of numb yourself to constantly feel that. And I think every day that, as long as you do it, you can do it every day. But every day you want to pull back because we are humans and we pull away from discomfort, right? And so we're going to pull ourselves away from that.
Sure. So as you grow, as you intend to, right? Your intention is to move into the Salesforce building. So didn't you tell Benny off that he's got to
Salesforce tower,
vacate that building?
Yes. Notified.
Once you've arrived there, now you have a different culture. You have a culture where people are not necessarily going to be able to mitigate the risk in the same way, and they'll be like, well, I don't want to ship stuff that doesn't look great or isn't perfect.
Yeah.
How do you get there, or do you maybe you bail before you get there and say, I'm better at doing this other stuff?
Yeah, there's no more bailing for me.
This is it?
This is it.
Is your forever home?
Yeah. My wife told me this is my last company, so there's no more. She said, make it count. There's no more. It's over. So there's no more. This is it.
You're getting granite tops and stainless steel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And so, I think the way that I think about culture is like culture is just the sum of the people that are there. And so it changes every day. And it's kind of the behaviors that you promote and the behaviors that you tolerate, probably more importantly, the behaviors that you tolerate. Mm-hmm. And so culture isn't something that's static and something that you just write down and put on walls and stuff like that. It's kind of the sum of everyone that's there, and that embodies the culture. So we change from a cultural standpoint all the time. I think we have principles that we try to stick to, and like everyone else, we're not perfect. And so I think it'll continue to change. But in terms of like speed and how we change, I think, there will be parts of the team over time that will probably have a different rhythm, right, a more polished rhythm, and then there'll be other ones that will continue to work the way that we do today, right? And so the answer is always both.
So we heard from Gil. Where's Gil? We heard from Gil earlier about this idea that you've got a vision or mission and vision. Mm-hmm. That's still valid, right? Even when the culture is changing. Mm-hmm. And you're no longer 5 people, you're 500 people. Mm-hmm. How do you sustain that? And what does your role look like as that evolution happens?
Yeah, I think my role continues to be and will continue to be like Chief Explainer Officer.
Chief Explainer Officer.
Yeah, or Chief Repeater Officer.
Chief Repeater.
Right, like I just have to repeat the same, whether it's the mission, the vision, why we're here, like what do we think about.
So let's stay with us for a second. Yeah. This idea that you have to repeat yourself, on the surface sounds like everybody's so stupid, I have to be this condescending arsehole. But it's not. It's exactly the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Why is it the opposite?
Well, I think, it takes most of us many reps until we're ready to, it's possible for us to hear something. And a lot of times it has to do with the context that we're in, right? So you have to be in the right context, right frame of mind to actually catch onto something. It's why I, go back and reread lots of books that I've read a million times.
If only there was a book on listening.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And because I'm in a different context each time that I read it, and so I'm picking something up. And I used to be, one of my weaknesses is repeating myself. Like I don't like repeating myself. That's why most of my, I would give a lot of talks, and I would never give the same talk twice. Because by the time I finished giving it the first time, I was so bored by it that I couldn't repeat it again, which leads to not giving amazing talks because the people who are amazing at being speakers, when you're on the circuit with them, you figure out that they've given that talk about 250 times, exactly the same with the exact same pauses and laugh tracks and the whole thing. That's what makes them amazing at it. But I was just always so bored by repeating myself. So becoming this kind of explainer officer, repeater officer has been something that I've had to work at all the time. And the team, like you said, is always changing, right? People are coming, they're going, the team is growing, it's moving, they're in different points in their career, in different phases, and so you have to keep repeating, hoping that you'll break through.
What are you repeating? Are you repeating those high-level things like the mission, the vision, and the values, or are you repeating something else?
I'm repeating all that stuff. I'm repeating that stuff in tactical things that we're doing.
So
right?
contextually.
Contextually, right? And trying to draw some kind of line back to that. And then we're repeating stories. Mostly we try to take everything into a story or turn it into a story because stories are what people remember. And so they're usually customer stories or stories about how we did something or challenges that we had. So it's all about trying to translate that mission, that fuzzy mission and vision into tactical things you can do as well as stories.
So one of the things I've said about leadership is that it's the kind of thing that happens when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
So now you're repeating yourself, then you leave, you have to go and visit the SF office or something. Yeah. What happens then? How do you know that the stories are being told in the right way?
Yeah, well, it goes in both ways, right? It goes like sometimes you hear stories of it being repeated in a positive way, and sometimes you hear it in a negative way. And a negative way might be like, why are we doing this? because Richard said we had to do this, and then you're like, wait, I didn't say that. I never said this, like that, so like that's the bad interpretation. But I think you kind of feel it and you see it in the way that we deal with customers, the way that we build products, the way that we talk to each other, and kind of so you see it in all those things, whether people are kind of learning kind of lessons or the mission and vision over time.
So this is your one company, otherwise you're divorced. You have to repeat the same message, or at least stay on task as far as the vision goes. But every single day, and you and I follow each other on social media, every single day you're reading something new.
Yeah.
What's the opportunity for kind of like, we used to call it mental whiplash, right?
Yeah.
Charlie Munger says one thing.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins says something else. Some readers, you're all suddenly everybody's got a different story.
Yeah.
How do you balance all of that stuff and stay on the David Cancel train without all that stuff? Getting
Sending
messed
all
up?
over. Because I kind of read. I do a lot of reading, but I read in a different way now. And so I used to want to read something literally and kind of go off and go do this thing. Because I read this thing, we got to go do this thing, this is the answer, right?
The drive-by.
Yeah, the drive-by. The founder bomb. Yeah. Someone told me last week.
I read this book.
Yeah. Someone told me last week who was visiting, it's called the swoop and poop.
The swoop and poop, yeah.
Yeah,
we all know about the swoop and poop.
Yeah. Founder bomb, swoop and poops, all that stuff. And now, I don't really read that way. I read more to remind myself of kind of common patterns. And most of what I'm reading, whether it's Charlie Munger or someone else, if you boil it down and you kind of just let it simmer, it's all the same thing, right? It's all about like how to deal with people, how to deal with uncertainty, how to make decisions. Like it's all the same thing, and it's more meditative the way that I read now than kind of literal, me looking for some answer to be unlocked.
And how does that relate to advisors or mentors in the real world? In fact, the next speaker up is Julia. I don't know where she is, but Julia's
She's back there somewhere.
one of the people that advises your company.
Yeah.
How does that fall into that? Like, do you get whiplash from different opinions?
Advisors? Yeah. I used to. I think I used to, because I used to be seeking, approval or seeking an answer, a specific answer. And then you learn over time, you have enough experience that you know that no one has the answer. There is no right answer, right? There's just, decisions and consequences, right, for those decisions that you make. So you make a decision to go down this road, there's a consequence for going down this road versus that road, or outcomes could be another way to think about it. And so, again, when I spend time with her, it's kind of, or other advisors or board members, I'm really looking for patterns that they've seen. I'm not looking for explicit kind of direction in doing something. I'm not asking them like, hey, Richard, tell me how I should.
So you're looking for
approach X, Y, Z.
information, not advice.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking for information. I'm looking for patterns that they've seen, right? Maybe they've seen a pattern repeated that I'm making them think about, and so, or that they're thinking about, given what I'm telling them, and that's what I'm seeking, right? I'm seeking that more than anything else.
Tell me how you change the structure of your companies over time. So it's been, what, 4 or 5 companies? 5 companies? 5 companies. You've had the opportunity to experiment with different styles of structures. What's new now that was different from, say, what you did at HubSpot or Performable or anything else?
Yeah, I'd say, I kind of break up my career into 2 chapters. The first half, was the first 10 years. I was really kind of seeking and looking to, whether it was books or mentors or other people, for specific recipes, right? Mm-hmm. Recipes on how to do things. And I think and how to build product and what was best practice and all, looking for best practices, all that kind of stuff. And then, I woke up from that and thought at some point it didn't really lead to great places, right? And I went back to kind of first principles and started to think about why did we make certain decisions, or what am I really trying to do? And kind of stumbled into this kind of obsession that continues with trying to build an organization around the customer, trying to build kind of our methodologies from a development or product standpoint around the customer. And that really started in 2009 at Performable, and it's iterated at HubSpot, and now it's even a further iteration at Drift. And that has taken us all the way to where we are now, this idea of like we're always wrong, we got to validate, we got to put stuff out there. And I'd say the first 10 years it's pretty much where I see a lot of companies still develop, which is, they have some great best practice or system that basically has them guessing at what the customer wants, right? Whatever, at the end of the day, it's just a guess system, right? And, in the early days when I was writing code, it was waterfall. It was a waterfall thing. And so
Right.
you might work for a year, a couple years before something was released. And on a disc or CD-ROM before DVDs.
You remember what that was? Huh?
Yeah, nobody here knows what that was. And then we graduated and the Agile methodology came on, and most companies still work that way, and we went to Agile and sprints and then Kanban and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But at some point I realized that, we were now in a different world. We were in a world where we could talk to, if we wanted to, all of our customers in real time, no matter where they were in the world. But we were still using these methodologies that had us guessing, had us working in a vacuum away from the actual market.
So the teams were making decisions
Yeah.
without the customer inputs,
Yes.
hoping that they were right.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, hang on a second, that world doesn't exist anymore.
No. And then the internal customers, the people within sales, marketing, service, whatever they were in your company, had no way to keep these product teams in touch with the customer, so they put more pressure on dates, more pressure on release version numbers, roadmaps, this, that, contracts, design contracts, product contracts, all this kind of stuff, because they had no faith that this product team was listening to the real world, because they were kind of in a vacuum, or the design team was in a vacuum. And so, at some point I was just like, why don't we just talk to them? Like, we have them now. Like, we can. Here, they're addressable, right? I built software where, they might ship it like 3 years later. There was no way that I would ever meet a customer. And maybe it was installed by a service integrator.
Yeah.
Like, there was no way.
So not talking to the customer is now a choice.
Now is the choice, right?
Yeah.
And for us, it's not a choice, right? It's the only way to do it, because then it removes all this artificial craziness that we've kind of introduced into the development and design process.
So is it speeding up your decision time?
For sure,
Yeah.
right? And so our pace is not as unusual, and how quick it is, and I think it's
Does it feel faster, or does it feel normal?
No, it does not feel normal.
It feels fast.
It feels fast. Yeah, it feels fast, really fast.
So when you're hiring people and they get
It's
introduced
the
into this
first thing that we
environment,
talk about
Really?
before hiring them. Like, it's really fast. And
Really?
they say, yeah, I've worked at X, and it's, I'm
do
used to
they have a
speed.
dial on the back of the head and you turn them up to 2 times or something?
I don't know. And then they come and they're like, holy shit, this is fast.
Yeah.
Like, this is really fast. The point of it is not the speed. The point of it is that we're trying to validate, right? And we're trying to learn, right? We're trying to build a learning mechanism, which is the company. And all of us are trying to learn kind of in real time by getting feedback.
So would you say that Drift is more of a learning mechanism or machine?
More than anything else.
And what happens to produce
Yeah.
the products that you're producing right now are really just a side effect of that?
Side effect, whether it's software or whatever. Like, I think about Drift in 2 ways. I think, like, we're trying to build this brand, this thing, this company that can help our customers with a certain problem. And then I think about, the second thing is that we're trying to build this learning organization that can pull the company forward. And then the products that we build, if they're in software or they're not in software, they are software today, they can be anything at some point.
So I really like that
and
idea.
There will be anything at some point, I believe.
I love this idea that the modern organization is actually just a learning organism, or an adaptive organism is probably even a better biological way to. But you still have kind of, there's a part of it, like, you guys are like selling the conversational marketing story as well. It's almost like you're trying to create a category. Does that happen as part of the experimentation cycle, or do you actually still think that you need to create a category to be successful?
I don't think you need to create a category. I think we've created this category because we think there's a fundamental paradigm shift that's happening, and we think this old paradigm of selling and marketing is broken, and we need to give a name to this new paradigm so people can identify with it. And we came up with this name, and because of that, we're trying to create this new way of doing things. But this new way of doing things will be much more than services. Like, when we create a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a hat, both of which you have, and and people like them. Is that the product, or is this software the product, or are the people in the company the product? Like, what's the product? In my view, all of it's the product, right? Because the experience is the product.
And I poked you with that stick because we got a call from somebody the other day to say, hey, can you help us with a project? We're doing a conversational marketing project. Can you show us something in your portfolio with conversational marketing? I'm like,
check out this sweatshirt, yo.
How about everything? like it's a category that this guy created.
Not me, but all of us.
Or
all of us.
Dave Gerhardt or whatever. Somebody created it, and now it's a thing that we are either going to understand or not understand or live in. But it is another thing. It's another part of the lexicon of what we do. It may benefit you. It may not benefit you in the long run. That time will tell. Maybe you're wrong.
Yes.
Maybe you're wrong, and we'll find out.
Yeah.
Heath, how are we doing on time? You got 2 more minutes? Good. We're running out of time, or good? We're 5 minutes. Okay. Now to get personal.
Yeah. You're gonna get personal. Let's go.
You gotta lie down. The kind of stuff that you do at the office now, as a CEO, as a leader, as a product leader, is very different from what you did at HubSpot. Very different, in fact. You don't seem like you're a bossy guy anymore.
I don't know. Ask these.
But it still feels like you're very, very enthusiastic about the direction you're going. What does it look like every single day? And if you're a product leader and you're thinking about what the future looks like, I've seen David work, and he has this kind of very soft touch but high impact leadership style. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. I'm only me.
Should I call your employees over?
Yeah. I'm only me. I think my day to day is right today is a lot of it is hiring, a lot of it is spending time with the team, kind of one-on-one. So it's both of those things are kind of one-on-one.
So it's people.
It's people. I think it's 90. I say this all the time now. I think business is 99% people and 1% everything else.
So you're not implementing another like Safe or Agile or something like that? That's not going to solve your problems?
No.
Really?
I think I used to think. First half of my career, I thought that product and design and go-to-market and all this stuff were 99% of everything. Now I think it's like 1%. Not to demean it, I love it, and I spend all my time thinking about it, but I think it's 99% people.
It's not a differentiator, right?
No, it's the people inside the company, it's the people outside the company, it's just people. Like, we're not selling yet, Android to Android, bot to bot. And so I spend a lot of time with people. I spend a lot of time obsessing about weird details of things, OCD, whether it's in the product, in marketing, the way that we write copy, the way that we talk about things.
Micromanagement stuff? Or if I ask, is he a micromanager?
Yeah.
He's not? Okay.
I think there's, I don't know how you define it. I think micromanaging is telling someone what to do and exactly how to do it, and saying I want it done exactly this way.
Yeah.
And then I think being opinionated and caring about the details is sweating those details, maybe giving suggestions, but saying this is a problem, or why aren't we doing this? It's more why aren't we, than do it exactly this way and never do it any other way. And so.
So you're not really telling people how to solve the problem. You're just saying, this is the problem.
This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. Yeah, lots of them.
Can we get a mug printed?
Yeah. This is a problem. And then saying, have we talked to a customer? Have we looked at what are the patterns that the industry are using for this kind of thing, right? Why? Because who cares about the way that other people have been doing it, but more importantly, because it's a muscle memory that the customer may already have. So why go reinvent on common patterns? You want to save that energy for where it actually counts. And so I spend a lot of time, what I call zoom in, zoom out, zoomed out, super high level kind of stuff, thinking about that, and then really zoomed in about periods and sentences and this design thing and that thing's broken and that. I spend almost no time in the middle, zero time in the middle, and that's the entire team is really focused on the middle and then edges, parts of those edges.
What kind of interaction does your team need from you? I'll just leave it at that.
What kind of answer, reaction?
No, what kind of interaction do they need from you? Because if you're not managing, right? So you're not in the middle.
Really.
You're definitely selling and advancing the mission of the company.
Yeah.
But you're also fiddling with dots and crossing T's and stuff like that. What do they want from you? How do they know that they're doing their job?
It's a good question. I don't know. I should ask them.
Just ask them.
No, I think it depends on who the person is. Some people, like I spend a lot of time with Dave, who's in our VP of marketing, and so I sit next to him, so there's a lot of interaction happening there. And he wants a lot of interaction.
He likes to be held.
Yeah. Hugged. And some people don't want any interaction. I think, it's up to we're all different people. It's depending on the personality type, how much they want. Ideally, they shouldn't need any interaction with me because they're all amazing at what they do. And, I'm just a reminder that someone is caring and looking at all the details, more like an editor. Like, if you were a writer and you had an editor at a newspaper, like, what's your interaction? Most of the time, it's nothing with the editor. But every once in a while, it's there to kind of be that coach or to push you and say, like, we can do better. This is not good enough. This is not your best work. And then gone. And that's kind of what I do.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm ready to edit some of your stuff.
Everybody, Dave Cancel.
Thank you.